Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we'll continue with the revision for the December 2024 mock. And if you are watching this video for the first time, take a minute or so and subscribe to this channel. Also give the likes to the video and also post your comment down there. Yeah, so that we can be able to gauge your reaction as far as this video is concerned. Without much ado, let me go to the question. So today I'll do question 23. And I've said that all these questions are attached on section 1 of December 2024 mock paper, the theory part. Yeah, so you'll get the question and the theory part. I've attached it on the description side. So thank you so much. So let me read the question without wasting so much time. The administration of Pona Hills Hospital would like to establish a cost formula linking the administrative costs involved in admitting patients to the number of patients admitted during the month. The admission department's costs and the number of patients admitted during the last 12 months for the year 2023 are given below. So we have month from January to December, then we have number of patients admitted, then we have admission department costs in shillings. Yeah, these are the costs in shillings. So required, Roman 1, using ILO method, estimate the fixed and variable components of admission costs. Yeah, so that's the fixed and variable cost. Number 1, 2, using regression analysis, estimate the relationship between number of patients and admission costs in the form of y is equal to a plus bx. Roman 3, using the relationship obtained in 2 above, estimate the admission cost incurred if admission was 2,100 patients. Number 4, determine the correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination. Interpret your results. Yeah, so we'll do this question. We'll do a working on this question. And so we'll start with Roman 1. So Roman 1, using ILO method, estimate the fixed and variable components of admission cost. Yeah, so ILO method is part of your business data analytics syllabus. So this is how you do it. So we'll have activity. Then we also have cost here. Yeah, so we'll have it's ILO method. So we'll look at the I value. So you'll have I. Then you have low. Okay. So activity. Where are we getting the activity? So the activity is the number of patients admitted, because the activity which is being carried out is the number of patients admitted, and this is also is always depicted by x. Yeah, when it's the form of y is equal to a plus bx, then this is the number of units. Yeah, so the activity is the unit, so the number of patients admitted is the units in this case. So that's the activity. So we'll check at the I activity. So how do we do that here? Because in Excel it's easier, because you can be given even the months, maybe you can be given even for 10 years. Yeah, so it will be so difficult for you to check all through, yeah, which one is the highest. Yeah, for this now you can be gamble. Yeah, but to save on time, you just come here and say equals to, then you use the maximum function. So you say max equals to max, then you click that max, then you select all these activities, then you close the bracket, then you enter. Yeah, so it will give you the highest activity as being 2,000. Yeah, so what about the low activity? So the lowest activity, you will do the same. So we'll say equals to minimum. So you say equals to min, then you select everything, all the values there, then you close the bracket, then you enter. So it means that the mean So we'll do that. So when you go to cost here is represented by admission department cost, and this is Y. In other words, this is Y. Yeah, this is X and this is Y. So both the dependent and independent variable. So which will be the highest cost? So you do the same thing. You say equals to maximum. So equals to max, then you click, then you select all the way. Then you close the bracket, then you enter. So it means that the maximum is 16,100. So what about the minimum? The minimum, you say equals to min. Then you select all this. Yeah, then you close the bracket, then you look the minimum. So we have the high and low, both for activity and both for cost. So activity, I say, is represented by X, while cost is represented by Y. That is very key. Then now under ILO method, we look at the change. Yeah, what was the change? So that we get the value, the variable cost per unit. So change, what was the change? So we'll say there, sorry, change will be, change is just the difference between high and low. So it will be this minus this under X. Yeah, so we'll have 900. So I'll just drag for Y, and for Y I'll have 3,300. Therefore, the variable cost, which is the variable component, is the variable cost per unit, also known as the variable components. I'll say the variable cost per unit, you will take say equals to, so you check the change in Y, which is 3,300. You divide by the change in X, which is 900. So you'll get 3.667 as the variable cost per unit. So once you get the variable cost per unit, so it will be easy for you to get the fixed cost per unit, because the examiner was asking us to estimate the fixed and variable components of admission cost. So the variable component of admission cost is 3.667. So you can decide to reduce the decimals, but you can even leave it that way for accuracy purposes. So how are we going to get the fixed cost? So the fixed cost will be, yeah, so fixed cost, we know that in the form of Y, is equal to A plus BX. Yeah, so what do we have? Y, so we'll use the I. We can use the I or the law, yeah, to be able to get the fixed cost. Yeah, so I'll use Y. So Y, my Y will be 16,100. My A is the fixed cost. We say that A is the fixed cost, so that's what we will be looking for. B is the cost per unit, the variable cost per unit, and X is the number of units, which is the activity level, this one, the 2,000. So the only value that we don't have is A. So we can be able to fix that and get the value. So how are we going to do that? So we'll say A, yeah, so we'll say Y, which is, let me do it down here. So Y equals to, so we just have 16,100 will be equals to, so let me say equals to A, which we don't know, which we are, that's what we are looking for, plus BX. So BX is will be the bracket. B is that the variable cost per unit, but X is the number of units, which is the activity here, which is 2,000, because I'm using the I method. Yeah, so it appears that way. So that means that when you multiply this plus this, then you'll have A plus this equals to 16,100. So you'll take A is equal to 1,600 minus 3.66 times 2,000. So this is what we'll do. This is what you do. So you just come here and say A will be equals to, A, which is the fixed cost, is equal to 16,100 minus bracket. So just take the variable cost per unit, which is B, times X, which is the activity level, that one. As simple as such. Then you close the bracket, then you enter. So A will be 8766.67. So that's the fixed cost. Yeah, so the fixed cost will be A. So I'll replace that and say fixed cost now will be 8766.67. So that's by that we have just answered Roman 1, that the fixed cost was 8766.67, while variable cost per unit was 3.6667. Yeah. That's, we are done with that. So the variable cost was 3.6 and fixed cost was 8766.67. So go to Roman 2, using regression analysis, estimate the relationship between number of patients and admission cost in the form of y is equal to A plus bx. Yeah, so we'll use the regression analysis. And regression analysis, I told you that we are going to use what we call the data analysis to analyze. So what are we going to do? So here first, you have to identify what is y and what is x. I say that x is represented by the number of units, while y is represented by costs. Yeah. So once you know that cost is represented y, then the remaining item will be the units. So how are we going to go about it? So I say that you go to data. Yeah, then you will go to data analysis. Click that data analysis table. So it will appear here. Then you check for regression. Then you say okay. Yeah, so once you have that regression, let me drag it somewhere here, down here. Sorry for that. Let me drag it there. Yeah, so regression. So regression, we'll have a table here. So it will guide you here. So input y range means that we'll select all the values under the y range. And because we have identified the y range to be admission department costs in this question, so I'll select everything from January all the way to the last December. Yeah, then I'll leave it. Then I'll go to input X. So input X, I'll also start with January. Then I'll go all the way to December. Yeah, then I'll do that. Then always click the confidence level at 95%. Then the output range, yeah, where do you want the data to appear? The summary. So output range, I'll click that. Then I'll click that box. Then I'll click down here. I want that summary to appear somewhere here. Yeah, so I'll click that. So you see, once I click that, the value, it will click that space automatically. Then there's nothing much. I'll just say okay. Say okay. So once I say okay, yeah, you can see the values are there. And one thing you must observe, the first thing to be correct, always check the observation. My observation are 12, yeah, and for sure the months are from January to December. Those are 12 months. So that means that I've captured everything. Yeah. So I've said the first thing, you check where y is and x is. Once you are done with that, once you run the summary, the regression analysis, you check at what we call the observations here, because you can get the values, but observations here will tell you 11. So you want to be right, yeah, because you have avoided some part of this data. So having this now, we can answer the question in the form of y is equal to a plus bx, because that's what they were asking. So y is equal to a plus bx. Yeah, so y will, so the y will be equals to a in this case. A in this case will be you have to know how to interpret the ANOVA table. Yeah, you must know how to interpret the ANOVA table. So A is the intercept. You see this intercept? Yeah, that's A. So this is what will represent A. Even if you have more than two independent variables. So A will always be the intercept. So it will have y is equal to 10, 541.47. Then you add 2 B. Yeah, B is x variable 1. So the value of B here is 2.37. Yeah, that one, 2.37, 24. You can put 24, 14. Then you say x. Yeah, then you say x. So y is equal to 10.5. Then plus 2 point that x. So that's what the examiner required of you when the examiner asked you to use a regression analysis to estimate the relationship between number of patients and admission costs in the form of y is equal to a plus bx. So it means that they were telling you to find the value of a and b. Yeah, so y is equal to a, which is 10.5, plus b, x. Yeah, so by that, you have answered that question and you get yourself 8 marks. Then Roman 3, using the relationship obtained in 2 above, estimate the admission cost incurred if the admission was 2,100 patients. Yeah, so the patients that are admitted here now will be 2,100. So these patients represent what? This 2,100 is represented by x. Yeah, so you want to get y when you are given x. So you just come here and say equals to, we have 10, 541.47 plus bracket 2.37, 241, 214, yeah, 214 times x, but the x in this case is now the 2,100. Yeah, so you just select that and you close the bracket and you enter. Yeah, so the correct answer is that the admission cost now will be 15,523.59. So admission cost when we have 2,100 patients will be, so admission cost is just finding the value of y after you have the equation. Yeah, so the admission cost will be this 15,520 and 23. Good. So the last part, number 4, this was number 3. Let me just say additional information number 3. Yeah, so number 4, which is the last part. Determine the correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination. Interpret your answer. So how will you determine the correlation coefficient given the summary output, the ANOVA? So the correlation coefficient is always denoted by multiple R. So when you see this multiple R, that's the correlation coefficient. Yeah, so just come here and write correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient is the multiple R. So just say equals to, and you select it, and you'll get a mark for identifying that. Then what happens to the coefficient of determination? They're also asking. So the coefficient of determination, coefficient of determination. Okay. So how do we identify coefficient of, that's the R square, the coefficient determination is the R square, the second one. Yeah, so you select that 0.53. So that say determine the correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination. So by just identifying this, you'll get your 2 marks. Then the other 2 marks I will award if you interpret your results. So how are you going to interpret correlation coefficient and coefficient of determination? That's very key. That interpretation is very key. So we'll say a correlation coefficient of 0.73 indicates a positive relationship between dependent and independent variable. Yeah, it shows a positive relationship between dependent and independent variable. And dependent and independent variable are the number of patients admitted and admission cost. So when you have a positive correlation coefficient, then it indicates a positive relationship between dependent and independent variable. So what now happens to the coefficient of determination? So coefficient of determination always range from 0 to 1. So we'll say a higher, a higher coefficient of determination of 0.53. Yeah, you have to set the value. Indicates a better fit. For the model. So it means that if you are plotting a scatter graph, then most areas, most points will fit within the line of the best fit. Yeah. So that means that a higher coefficient of determination of 0.53 indicates a better fit for the model. Yeah, that's the illustration. That's the interpretation the examiner needed. So by giving this interpretation correctly, you'll get another 2 marks. So that makes the total to be 4. So when you identify the correlation coefficient correctly, you'll only get 2 marks. But when you give the explanation correctly, because this is a question of knowledge, of interpretation, you have to interpret what you have calculated and you have to know it. Yeah, so you have to even do presentation on this analysis. So once you do the analysis correctly, I'll give you another 2 marks. So this is a good question. Yeah, this is a question. They've never tested it for the last 2 settings. So revise under this topic. They might surprise you on Friday when you sit for this paper. So thank you so much for watching. If you are watching this video for the first time, let me urge you once again to subscribe so that we can hit the 1,000 subscribers within the 30 days. And I'll also like to inform you that our admission for January intake is ongoing. If you are done with the advance part of the Certified Public Accountant, CPA, and now you are waiting for the results to prepare for BDA, I can assure you that this is the place that will be able to pass your BDA in your first attempt, because we prepare our students by covering the syllabus on time and testing our students' knowledge through setting mocks, through predictive mocks that we time our students on the 3 hours, that is the CASNEB standard. Yeah, that's helps most of our students to prepare for the main exams, and we have a pass rate of over 50% among our students in every sitting. So I'll urge you to register very early for January so that you can start classes on time. So, when you start classes on time, you'll be able to grasp every knowledge and be prepared well for the April sitting. So without much ado, let me wish you a blessed evening and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.